No one noticed him at first. To the rushing cars on the highway, he was just a shadow, a small, trembling speck against the cold gray asphalt. The rain was relentless, soaking his matted fur until he was shivering so violently he could barely stand. Most animals would have hidden. Most would have run into the woods to find shelter. But this puppy, he was waiting. Officer Miller had seen many things in his 20 years on the force. He had seen accidents, tragedies, and crime. But when he pulled his cruiser over that day, checking for a stalled vehicle, he saw something that made his heart stop. The puppy didn't run. He didn't bark in fear. He walked right up to the heavy black boots of the officer and sat down. He looked up, his eyes filled with a desperate human-like intelligence. He let out a low, heartbreaking whimper, a sound so full of pain it felt like a scream. Officer Miller reached down to pet him, but the puppy pulled away. He wasn't asking for food. He wasn't asking for a head scratch. He took 3 steps toward the dense, overgrown brush on the side of the road, then stopped and looked back. He was guiding him. "You want me to follow you, boy?" Miller whispered, the rain dripping from the brim of his hat. The puppy barked again, louder this time, urgent. Miller checked his radio. "Dispatch, I'm stepping away from the vehicle for a moment." He didn't know it yet, but that decision was about to change his life forever. The puppy wasn't just begging for himself. He was the only hope left for a secret hidden deep in the woods. The brush was thick, tearing at the officer's uniform. The puppy scrambled ahead, slipping in the mud, but he never let the officer out of his sight. He kept looking back, making sure his hero was still there. They walked for 10 minutes, deep into a wooded area where no one ever went. It was a place for forgotten things, old tires, rusted metal, and silence. Then the puppy stopped. He stood before a pile of old, rotting wood and trash. The puppy began to dig, his tiny paws muddy and bleeding, crying out as he tried to move a heavy piece of plywood. Officer Miller rushed forward. "Move, buddy, let me see," he said gently, lifting the heavy wood. What he saw underneath stole the breath from his lungs. Lying in the dirt, curled into a tight ball, was a mother dog. She was a skeleton wrapped in fur. Her breathing was so shallow, the officer couldn't tell if she was alive. Beside her, 2 other puppies lay still, too weak to even lift their heads. The brave little puppy who had flagged down the cop didn't ask for food. He rushed to his mother's face and began licking her nose, whining, nudging her. "Wake up, Mom. I brought help. Please, wake up." She let out a soft groan. It was the sound of a mother who had given everything, her warmth, her milk, her own body, to keep her babies alive, until she had nothing left to give. She had accepted her fate, but her son hadn't. Officer Miller felt tears prick his eyes. This wasn't just an animal. This was a family clinging to the edge of existence, and they were fading fast. "I need a transport now. Animal control is too far out," Miller shouted into his radio. He knew he couldn't wait. He scooped the mother dog up. She was terrifyingly light, like a bundle of dry sticks. He wrapped her in his patrol jacket, trying to share whatever warmth he had. The brave little puppy followed at his heels, refusing to be carried, guarding his family until they were safe in the back seat of the cruiser. The drive to the clinic was a blur of sirens and rain. When they arrived, the vet team was waiting. "Her temperature is critical," the vet announced, her face grim. "She's severely dehydrated, malnourished, and her heart rate is dropping." They laid her on the metal table. Needles, tubes, warm blankets. The room was chaotic, filled with the urgency of saving a life. But in the corner of the room, amidst the noise, was a moment of pure silence. The brave puppy was placed in a warm kennel with a bowl of fresh food, likely the first meal he'd seen in weeks. But he didn't eat. He pressed his nose against the glass, his eyes locked on his mother across the room. He watched every movement the doctors made. He was still on duty. He was still her protector. The vet shook her head slowly. "I don't know,"
Hope's condition is
she whispered
critical,
to
and
Officer
the outlook
Miller.
is grim.
"She's been starving for weeks. Her organs are shutting down. Tonight is going to be the longest night of her life." Officer Miller didn't go home that night. He sat in the waiting room, drinking cold coffee, waiting for the news he dreaded. But as the sun began to rise, casting a golden light through the clinic windows, the vet opened the door. She looked tired, but she was smiling. "Come see," she said. Inside the recovery room, the mother dog lifted her head. Her eyes, once dull and full of death, were bright. She was weak, but she was back. When they opened the kennel door, the brave puppy didn't run wild. He walked slowly to his mother and gently licked her face. She rested her head on his tiny paws. It was a silent conversation between them. "We made it. We're safe." Over the next few weeks, a transformation took place. The mud and grime were washed away to reveal beautiful, soft coats. The ribs that once poked through their skin vanished under healthy weight. The mother, named Hope by the clinic staff, proved to be the gentlest soul they had ever met. And the brave puppy? He was a firecracker of joy. He played with his siblings, chased tennis balls, and greeted every human with a wagging tail. But there was one human he was waiting for. It had been a month since the rescue. Officer Miller walked into the shelter, not in his uniform, but in jeans and a t-shirt. He was nervous. Before he could even say a word, a blur of fur came sprinting across the floor. The brave puppy leaped into his arms, licking his face, whining with pure, unadulterated joy. He remembered. He knew exactly who had answered his call in the rain. Miller had come just to visit, but holding that puppy, he realized something. They had saved each other. "I can't leave him," Miller told the staff, "and he can't leave his mom." In a decision that had the whole town cheering, Officer Miller adopted both the brave puppy and his mother, Hope. The other siblings were quickly adopted by Miller's fellow officers. Today, the puppy who once stood shivering on a rainy highway begging strangers for a miracle has a different life. He sleeps on a soft couch, he has a warm bed, and he has a dad who will never let him go. They say dogs are man's best friend, but sometimes, if you listen when they ask for help, they become your guardian angels. If this brave puppy's story touched your heart, please share this video. You never know whose life you might change. And remember, heroes don't always wear badges. Sometimes they just have a brave heart and a wagging tail. Thanks for watching.